Hello, Gen Blue. Oh, it is so wonderful to be with you all today. Thousands of us are virtual. Thousands more are live in person at the world-famous Radio City Music Hall in New York City. And you know, Coldwell Banker's global headquarters is just outside New York City, so this is basically a home game for us. And actually, March of last year began what, for me, ended up being a year-long home game. Unanticipated. After 20 years of flying every single week, I was not just grounded, but my home converted into my office. I started off just off the living room, little side table there, about 2 feet from 2 of my kids in virtual school, a couple of chatty pets in the background. I then upgraded to what I think is a very well-staged middle schooler's bedroom. That was pretty nice. And eventually, I decided to move across the river to a quiet spot with really good acoustics, and nobody was using it in lockdown. Radio City Music Hall. This is awesome. Oh, it's so good to be here with you today. It is so wonderful to see so many of you. I have been on the road all summer, every week, reconnecting with our network, and it is fabulous to see so much of our network right here together, taking over New York City. This is awesome. We're going to have some fun. You know, with the exception of my, secret backstage Radio City Music Hall office, I bet my work from home pandemic story sounded pretty familiar to all of you. Right? We've had so many shared experiences recently, from shortages of everything from champagne to Charmin, right? To the most popular phrase of the past year, "you're on mute," and the ubiquitous "you're still on mute." So whether it's you or your clients or both, what played out under our roof played out under roofs across the country and around the world. In fact, another shared experience, I'm even in the midst of a 6-week bathroom remodel. We just entered month 10. And no worries though, our intrepid contractor tells me that a part we ordered in January, it's gonna be here in June of 2022, like almost certainly. And I'm actually serious about that. By the way, thanks again, Meg, for the contractor referral, appreciate that. Speaking of renovations, there was a moment, I will admit, last year where I thought perhaps that full swing North Star rebrand that was planned for 2022 was perhaps a little ill-timed, as it seemed pretty much anything planned for 2020 was ill-timed. But it quickly became clear that it was almost too perfect in the timing, because all of you immediately began to shine. You began guiding your clients, your communities, and your companies. We pulled together, virtually, across town and around the world. We supported our communities with information, aid, and calm. In essence, we guided the world home. That's what we do. And in undeniably rough seas, we, all of you, we were the North Stars our clients and communities needed. And today, much of that probably seems like a distant memory. Certainly, COVID is not left us, but that uncertain market, that uncertain time quickly morphed into what became one of the strongest markets we have ever seen, driven by fundamental demand for the service we offer and the product that we sell. And of course, amplified by all manner of scarcity. And that's when you individually and collectively broke just about every record there is. And I just want to dispel something. Contrary to popular belief, that wasn't just the market. You don't get to benefit from the market unless you've done the hard work of building your business one client at a time, of earning trust through Coldwell Banker's founding principles of honesty, integrity, and service, and of honing your craft with our core value of excellence. The fact is, survivors outwork, thrivers outsmart, and you all not just survived, but you thrived over the last 18 months. You've set entirely new standards for your clients, for yourselves, for Coldwell Banker, and for the entire industry. And you're leading this industry from around the world. Over 40 countries, many of whom are represented in this room right here in New York City, Quick shout out to Argentina, Mexico, Turkey, Costa Rica, Dubai, Canada. That's literally just who I've run into at the Marriott so far. You meet the nicest people in the Marriott lobby. I'm sure many more are here as well from all around the world. That said, even with our global operations, the most frequently asked question I get time and again is about the future of the most dynamic housing market in the world, and that's right here in the United States. From policymakers to production builders to property investors, everyone asks me one question: when is the music going to stop? I certainly don't have a crystal ball, but I've got a pretty unique vantage point, so I want to share some of that with you. I hear in real time market feedback from all of you. I spend time on Capitol Hill, Wall Street, and Main Street, and I am very happy to report that the fundamentals of this market, this seller's market, continue to be strong. So I want to discuss that. I want to spend some time here with you today breaking that down so I can equip you with what you need to have conversations with your clients to help them understand the impacts on real estate today and into the future. First, I'll give you the quick headlines, then we're going to spend some time on each. First, global savings rates and wealth are up and rising. Housing is an attractive investment, including relative to all other asset classes, and that's important, especially on the mortgage side. New supply is limited and will remain quite limited for quite some time. And foreign buyers are about to return, and I'm predicting in a pretty big way. So let's break down each of those. So again, you can guide your clients home, closing out this year strong and setting yourself up for a 2022 that breaks the mold. First, on that savings rate, despite the uncertainties and disruptions of COVID, global savings rates are at or near all-time highs, not just in the US, but around the world. And that means global funds are seeking safe, stable, and valuable investments. And what's showing up is US real estate is among not just the largest, but the most attractive asset classes. So how does that relate to you? That means global funds are flooding into things like private mortgage-backed securities. And this is adding to the Federal Reserve's existing bond buying programs under quantitative easing. Those two things combined are bidding up pricing for these assets and keeping yields low. So what does that mean for you? It means interest rates low, 30-year fixed rates low. Even after recent increases, we're still at or near all-time lows. And I predict we're going to stay fairly low because the Federal Reserve realizes that the inflation that we're seeing right now is only partially driven by some of the actual real impacts and sustained impacts of things like rent increases. And there's a weird statistical smoothing thing the Federal Reserve does with regard to rent. So you're going to see headlines about inflation that continue to look a little scary for a while. But the Fed also realizes that much of the inflation we see today is driven by supply chain disruptions. That's temporary. Another big driver is a really tight labor market, which is driving for the first time some real wage growth, meaning inflation-adjusted wage growth at that lowest earner level. That is long-term good for our economy. The Fed realizes this, and I think they're going to work to keep rates relatively low. Again, relatively low. They're going to tap the brakes on their QE program. They're going to try to avoid what Fed watchers call taper tantrum. I always thought that was kind of funny. They're going to try and keep that 30-year fixed rate mortgage low. In the 3s and 4s, don't freak out when you hear 4s. Still among the lowest rates of all time. And Congress, too. Spend some time down there. They know that housing underpins the foundation of all American families, and that home ownership to this day still is the biggest driver of wealth creation in our entire economy. So that means that we enjoy broad, bipartisan, cross-departmental support all over DC, something I personally confirmed firsthand throughout the year on the Hill. Okay, so far so good, right? We've got investors who are bullish on housing. Actually, that's something I confirmed firsthand 2 weeks ago as well with one of the biggest investors in the world who could not be more bullish on housing. So investors are good. Federal Reserve seems to be pro-housing. Congress seems to be pro-housing. This is a good backdrop. So what's going to happen next month when foreign buyers are able to travel into the US a little bit more freely? Well, again, no crystal ball, but I'll give you my prediction. In the winter destination markets, think Arizona and Florida. Excellent. So if you're looking for a place in Arizona, I think it's front stage right here. I think foreign buyers coming in with that newly created wealth are going to add to already robust buyer demand. And in gateway cities like New York City, as well as LA, San Francisco, and white-hot Miami, I think foreign buyers are going to absorb a lot of what is left on the high end. And that includes actually high-end rentals due to some of the shortage of supply. Now, these two trends don't just benefit the gateway cities. They benefit other cities as well, as value-seeking domestic buyers are going to do what we've seen all year. They're going to explore new territories, and that's going to continue. As they're able to work more remotely, perhaps a little or perhaps permanently, they're exploring places outside where they've looked before. Maybe that's Columbus, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, or Columbus, New Mexico. You're going to see benefits throughout the country. I didn't hear any applause for Columbus, New Mexico. Poor New Mexico. Okay, so demand is strong and about to get stronger, especially, I'll note, where Coldwell Banker Global Luxury truly shines. And supply is limited. It's probably going to remain limited relative to demand. So, well, that just begs the question, what about new construction? That's obviously the answer to bridge the gap in the supply-demand divide, right? Candidly, if you have clients who are interested in new construction, which I know many of you do, I suggest you guide them toward the existing home market for a little while longer, and possibly even into a long-term rental while you help them connect with a custom home builder to construct something. Because I know many believe that this high builder confidence index, the production builders do have high confidence. As a matter of fact, we set a record for that index not too long ago. Many believe that high confidence is going to lead to an enormous number of new housing starts, and it's going to flood the market with inventory. Bluntly, it won't. There's no chance. No chance, especially on the single-family detached housing side. So we'll talk a little bit about why, because these are some of the conversations you're going to have with some of your clients in the near term if you aren't already. Builders were burned so badly in the Great Recession that even seemingly bottomless demand is just not enough to convince them to take the much greater risks associated with betting big on a long-term cycle when you've got near-term supply shortages, and they do. Land investments are up, yes, I'll grant you, but nowhere near the exponentially increased levels that we really need to come anywhere close to meeting demand. And today, buildable land is just nowhere near as plentiful as it was 20 years ago, so the odds are stacked against. And the builders are facing extremely tight and highly disrupted labor and materials markets. And that means they can't execute their plan for the kind of scaled, rapid production that helps them to mitigate their risk by getting product to market really quickly. Frankly, the time from shovel to sold, it's just too uncertain right now to unlock all the capital that is behind the scenes waiting to invest in America's housing future. And even things like pre-construction sale contracts with clauses for escalation, that only gives them so much comfort. The very few production builders who have the kind of scale to put a real dent in the supply-demand imbalance, it's not enough to convince them. And we've got a new trend, too. Financing for the single-family rental space is so attractive right now that some of our most productive scaled production builders are actually considering flipping entire entitled communities from for sale to for rent. That's going to continue to depress that opportunity we have on the for sale side. Frankly, we haven't built enough for sale housing for probably 15 years now. We're missing 5 to 7 million homes. Most of those homes are not even on the drawing board today. And that's going to keep supply constrained for the foreseeable future. And that restraint means move-up buyers are constrained. Now, it does bolster price, but there is a lot of constraint. One of the most promising things I've seen recently is a lot of states and cities are now exploring increased zoning flexibility for individual homeowners, allowing them to add things like accessory dwelling units or some of these modestly supply-increasing subdivisions. Now, at scale, which we're not there yet, but at scale, this could positively impact some affordable supply coming onto the market. It's not without controversy, though, and that's one of the things that comes up most for me when I'm on Capitol Hill, including last week in D.C. I get asked the question constantly, how can we increase housing supply in order to increase the benefits, those considerable benefits that should inure to more of society? It's a great question, and I got to say, perhaps more than any other company in our industry, Coldwell Banker is the one policymakers look to. We're at the forefront of ensuring those policymakers are aware of the impacts their decisions, or lack of decisions, have on the aspiring American homeowner. And I've been really personally fortunate to have so many members of the House and Senate be open to hearing directly from me on your behalf on all manner of housing matters. We're really blessed to be the longtime leading company in our industry. And that means that Congress and state legislators, they look to us. They look to us, but they expect us to be part of the solution, not just give them the answers. And I'm proud to say we are part of the solution. All of you are part of the solution on so many fronts. So let's talk about some of those. When topics like fair housing arise, we can point to our industry-first open platform on fair housing training, where we created an opportunity for all of you to learn and improve your leadership in providing equal and equitable opportunities for all. And we also made that platform available to the entire industry and the general public, including members of Congress. When topics like innovation in affordable housing arise, on Capitol Hill and elsewhere, including your local state houses, we can point to the truly groundbreaking work we're doing with Home Partners of America. From the earliest work with HPA on the Lease with the Right to Purchase program, where we put 20,000 American families on a path to home ownership they would not otherwise have had, to the most transparent and consumer-friendly cash offer and cash buyer products in the business with RealSure, to a new program I'm very excited about. You haven't heard about it yet, but the incredible Choice Lease program. You're going to hear much more. This allows home buyers making less than 80% of the median household income to step into home ownership. These folks have been locked out of the market, and it provides them with a discount on rent. Yes, that is worthy. That is worthy. Absolutely. And you're going to see more capital flowing into that than any program ever launched of its kind. It creates an opportunity for them to become homeowners of market rate listed properties with a discount on rent that converts into home ownership. We've already quietly launched in a handful of markets, and by the end of this month, we will be launched in 10 markets, kind of doing a shakedown cruise ahead of a full-scale launch. You're going to hear much more in the very near future. And when asked what we're doing on the diversity, equity, and inclusion fronts, my answer is always the same. We can, should, and will do much more, and I am very proud of the programs we can point to, like What Moves Her, Agents of Change, and Inclusive Ownership. Each one of these programs is the first of its kind in the industry, and I believe still the best of its kind in the world. And Coldwell Banker and Realogy are often the first to support bills aimed at expanding opportunity, expanding fair housing, expanding equal access and equitable opportunity for all. Now, we hope to inspire the rest of the industry to action, and I think we have to a degree, but today, Coldwell Banker stands tall. Tall among our peers and always a North Star. And when the discussion on the Hill turns to transparency within our industry, we can confidently say we're leading the way there too. We literally were founded on the principle of integrity. We brought the first of its kind code of ethics into our industry. We were named one of the world's most ethical companies 10 years in a row now. We've adopted the industry's clearest commission display rules. And most recently, we propose requiring co-equal listing status for agent contact information. Listing agent contact information on every listing, no matter where it's syndicated all over the country. As prominently, that is worthy of applause, and we're going to get it done. We're requiring that agent listing information be as prominent as any other agent information on the site or any lead form as well. And I'm happy to say we are moving quickly. Just a couple of months ago, we proposed this. We got support from our competitors almost immediately, and we practically set a record getting that through a key NAR committee. So we are well on our way to making that the rule of the land. Finally, we also spent a fair bit of time pointing out lately to lawmakers how supposedly disruptive technology platforms in our industry are not always playing by the rules that lawmakers designed to protect the most valuable asset most families have. And we are leveling the playing field as a result. When asked what we're doing in our communities, this is my favorite question because I get to beam with pride and brag about all of you. I take such inspiration from the work that you do. You make home ownership more understandable and accessible to so many throughout your community. And you always reach out to those who need a helping hand with everything from rent assistance to matters way, way, way beyond housing. Things like disaster recovery efforts and food drives. That's you. That's just what you do every day in your communities. And most recently, I can point to your goal-smashing work with St. Jude, leading us to double our aspiration for this year and leading St. Jude, I don't know if you heard the news, to name us their new Partner of the Year, thanks to your work. You can see why it is such a privilege for me to be able to tell your story and to advocate for you and to serve you. I am far and away the happiest when I am just rolling up my sleeves at your side, when I am serving, sharing, coaching, mentoring, and celebrating. My favorite things to do, and I cannot thank you enough for allowing me to be your partner. It's a privilege. I take it very seriously. And every single day, I get another privilege. I get the opportunity to visit with members of the Coldwell Banker family all around the country and around the world. I get the chance to say thank you, to say congratulations, and to say, what more can we do? How can we be more helpful to you? Now, I've noticed an interesting trend recently. When I call someone new to Blue, someone who only recently upgraded to Coldwell Banker, they seem surprised to get a call from the CEO of the brand. They seem surprised that those of us in the home office care so genuinely and are so interested in them, in their story, their life, their business, their success, and helping them to live a truly exceptional life. And I say to them what I've said to so many of you, and I hope you say to your clients all the time, you're with Coldwell Banker now. Expect more. So that's what I ask for all of you. Thank you. Expect more is the watchword, and that's what I want to leave you with. Expect more. Expect more from Coldwell Banker. Expect the best to get even better. With innovative products like RealSure to compelling learning opportunities all over Gen Blue here today, to market-leading programs supporting commercial brokerage and the finest global luxury program in the business, having sold more luxury properties than any brand in history ever, and the best just got better today. We'll talk about that a little later. Also, expect more from yourselves. Make last year's ceiling this year's floor. That is what you can do. You are the best agents, supported by the best brand and the best brokers. You deserve to grow your share, whether that's an individual neighborhood, an entire market, or well beyond. So I say take what you're learning throughout Gen Blue and close this year strong. Call a fence-sitting buyer and take some of what we just discussed to help them understand what the future holds and why they should act now with confidence. Call a past client and ensure they know what their home, as a listing, might be worth in today's market, literally today's market. Call a great agent who is worthy of an upgrade and ask them to join us to have the best in the business work at their side. And by the way, I think we can all recommend Coldwell Banker with tremendous confidence and pride because if you hadn't heard, we have the world's highest agent satisfaction rate. And that's phenomenal. That's all of you doing your work every day. All right, so enough from me. Thank you for indulging in a little academic conversation there. I really appreciate it. We have so much more to share, maybe even a surprise or two in store, and I just want to end by thanking you. Thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you for coming to Gen Blue. Thank you for investing in yourselves through our learning tracks. Thank you for always holding yourselves to the highest standards of integrity in the industry. And thank you. Thank you for living the letter and the spirit of the fair housing laws, for always, at every turn, supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion. And thank you for guiding your clients home for 115 years and for expecting more from us, from Coldwell Banker, and from yourselves. Now let's go learn and leverage and lead in Gen Blue 2021. Thank you all so very much. I'll see you soon.